Fifth grade? Hello, fifth grade. That might have cut off. I don't know. All right. Anyways, grammar. So, compounds. This is the compound. Ooh, sorry. That's Mr. Straka's cello. I'm sorry. I figured out I can prop up my whiteboard on our music stand. So, progress. Anyways, compound review. Okay, so I wrote this worksheet. If you're looking at it, like I am, the first sentence you will notice is a compound subject sentence. Now, some of you seemed a little hesitant with compounds. Not that you didn't know how to diagram them. Most of you knew how to diagram them quite well. Really well. Good job, guys. But it seemed like a lot of people were hesitant to label something as a compound if it wasn't in the subject position. So, like, for example, hypothetically, if you said they catch, like in sentence 2, let's see how this works out. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so if you hypothetically said, oh, that's not bad. Okay. We got this. Progress. Let me try moving it forward slightly. They catch bass and trout. Basically, everybody got that they would be a subject. Whoa, we're moving. Whoops, there we go. All right, subject. And basically, everyone got that catch would be a verb. And basically, everybody got that this would be a compound direct object, and this is a compound. But then, when you got to trout, I had a lot of people who would put this as like a compound subject noun, which, no, because it's being caught. They catch what? Bass, and they catch trout. So this would be a compound direct object. And then for diagramming, they would be over here, catch would be right here, and then, don't forget your line there, and then our split, bass, trout, just like that. Sorry, it's a little sloppy because I'm working on an angle here. But it seemed like most people understood that it was a compound right here for the direct object, but then they just wouldn't label this as a compound. So for a direct object, it's a lot easier if you say they catch what? Bass. They catch what? Trout. Because both of those work. Or hypothetically, like maybe on number 2 of your worksheet, they catch bass, trout, and salmon. So there you go. So in this worksheet, I'll just give it to you very straight. First sentence in this worksheet is a compound subject noun. You have 2 subject nouns. There you go. Second sentence is compound direct objects, and there's more than one, or more than, wow. Of course there's more than one. It's a compound. There are more than 2 compounds in that sentence if you look at it carefully. Then, they fish on the lake and on Spokane River. Guess what? That's compound prepositional phrase. So you just have the dotted line going across on both of them. Number 4 is compound adjectives. What kind of boat? Gray. What kind of boat? Silver. And then 5 is, oh yes, I forgot. 5 is got indirect objects. Bob sent what? Fish. Direct object. To whom? And then the answer to that is your indirect object. And there are 2 indirect objects. Ooh, 2. So don't get confused by that. It's correct the way it's written. And then finally, you have a bonus sentence. This is Mrs. Straka's invention of a sentence. It has multiple compounds in it. If you label and diagram it correctly, I will give you bonus points in grammar, which is not a bad thing for anybody to want. Everyone should want bonus points in grammar. I'm not saying everyone's doing terrible, but I'm saying grammar tends to be one of the classes where more people need the bonus points. So with that, if you read the sentence carefully for the bonus, I highly recommend you carefully read through the sentence and go through and label it, because there are more than one compound in this sentence. Just off the bat, there's already compound subject nouns, and then there's 2 more compounds. Wow, I keep going over here. You can't see that. 2 more compounds in that sentence. So just be careful. Label it carefully. I had it up on my whiteboard because I diagrammed it all out and labeled it all out on my whiteboard to make sure that it was doable for you guys. So, there we go. With the compounds, most of these are pretty simple. I didn't give you any compound verbs, so you aren't going to have any prisms. In this, you will have a fork because there's a 3 that's going to happen. So you will have one that's a fork like this, ta-da, going through the middle, and hypothetically it would maybe be something like, I don't know, salmon. Not in this order, though, because in the sentence it's a different order. So hopefully that's more helpful. It's not a super complex worksheet. You'll maybe have some trouble with the compound prepositions. I'm just going to do it on this sentence and pretend that I have two prepositions, in a river and in a lake. So I'm going to do in river A, and then in, we'll do the lake. And then just to make that a compound, dot it across like that. Oh, that's hard to see because my window. Hold on. Hold up. I'm sorry. One sec. No window. Ooh, lighting change. Dramatic. Okay, so the dotted lines across right there for our compound prepositional phrases, and then the word and right there. So hopefully that helps. It's the same thing as this for if you have more than one adjective. So you would just put your two adjectives like that, dotted line across, and then and. Hypothetically, if it was like, I don't know, gray and silver, you would hypothetically do it like that. I'm sorry, I know my camera's really bad and the lighting's awful. I hope you can see that. Let's see. There we go. Give you a good look at all that. So hopefully that is more helpful. Finally, the last thing I'm going to go over is indirect object compounds. Just in case that's one that's catching you up a bit and you're having some trouble with it. It seemed more like people just couldn't figure out in the first worksheet that I just graded. It seemed more like people struggled with figuring out if there was an indirect object than if it was a compound. So let's talk about that really quick. I'm going to up my lighting just a tad because it got really dark in here. Doop. Okay. Oh, much better. Okay. Let's say my uncle sent Tim and Jim postcards. Okay. So my uncle sent Tim and Jim postcards. Here we go. All right. So who is our subject? That would be uncle. Subject noun. Who's uncle? My. Adjective. What is the action uncle is performing? That would be sent. He sent something. And what did he send? He sent a postcard. Direct object. Sent postcard to whom? Oops, there we go. Sent postcard to whom? Tim and Jim. So this would be compound indirect object. Compound indirect object. And a conjunction. And then for diagramming, we have our subject on the left, uncle. I'm gonna do that in black, guys, just so it's a little bit easier to see on here. Hold up. Uncle. Who's uncle? My. Don't forget those adjectives. A decent number of people just started forgetting adjectives. They would get the basic structure right, and then they would just forget to put in adjectives. Don't forget those. Verb, sent. He sent what? A postcard. He didn't send Tim and Jim because that would be very weird to send someone through the mail. Not a good idea. Don't try that. No. Okay. Sent, and then, remember for our indirect object we do this guy, but it's a compound, so we have to add that guy in there. Tim right here, and Jim right there. Don't forget your and there we go. So don't forget if it's an indirect object, you'd put your subject noun here, your verb here, and then you have a line like it's going to be a prepositional phrase, but you have the tail. And normally you would just write the indirect object right here like that, right? But because it's a compound, you have to give it a fork, which makes it look complicated, but it's really not, or not a fork, I'm sorry. You have to give it a rocket ship. So it looks like it's complicated, but it's actually not that bad. And then you also have to have a direct object. Okay, quick review thing, because a few people did this as well. Your direct object and your indirect object cannot go before the subject noun. Do not label uncle as your indirect object. No. Do not label uncle as your direct object. The uncle is not having anything done to him. He's doing something very nice for someone else, sending them a postcard. So that can't happen. And you should also remember, with a sentence that has an indirect object, it's always in the order of subject, noun, verb, indirect object, direct object. There we go. You never, ever, ever have the indirect object at the front of the sentence. You never, ever, ever have the direct object at the beginning of the sentence. So just silly mistakes like that kind of got a lot of people on the last worksheet that I just turned back into you. So just watch out for those. Be careful, and you'll do fine. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on here. In the bonus sentence, I will tell you, there is no indirect object. So there you go. I was nice in that one. I did not give you indirect objects. I did give you direct objects, though. Okay. Hopefully this helps with things. With the compounds, I think once you get into it, it makes a lot more sense. Most of you guys did totally fine with the labeling with the diagramming. And if you didn't, hopefully this has helped my quick speed over. And then a lot of people struggled with the labeling where they just were really hesitant. Remember that they have to be two things that are similar. Basically, they have to be the same thing. So a subject noun and a subject noun, or a verb and a verb, or an adjective and adjective, or a direct object and a direct object. It can't be a direct object and an adjective. That doesn't make any sense. So they have to be things that are similar, or object of the preposition and an object of the preposition, or prepositional phrase and prepositional phrase. They have to be the same type of thing. Don't be hesitant to label it. If you see the word and, then that means it's in a compound, right? Remember our fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Those are our fanboys. If you see any of these words, it means you're in a compound sentence, and you just have to figure out what the words are connecting. And if you look at like this sentence, which word is being connected by and? It's Tim and what? Jim. Ta-da! So just keep that in mind. I think a lot of people were just struggling because they were moving a bit too fast. If you slow yourself down a bit, I think that'll help. I have not looked yet at the ones you turned in on Monday. Yeah, Monday, because my timing's off right now. I have not looked at the ones you've turned in on Monday. Maybe there are differences there. But hopefully this helps. If you do need more help, please have your parent text or call me, and I am happy to talk to you or video chat with you and help you more on this. I hope you have a wonderful day.